Hello and welcome to G Fun Facts Online. Today we're diving into a paradox at the heart of our digital world. An organization's greatest asset is its people, but in the digital age, they can also represent its most profound vulnerability. The very individuals we trust to build and protect our digital infrastructure, our digital guardians, can sometimes become our most formidable adversaries. This journey from trusted insider to cyber criminal is a complex one, driven by a mix of psychology, circumstance, and organizational culture. Today, we're exploring the enemy within. An insider threat is a security risk that comes from inside an organization. This isn't a shadowy hacker in a dark room miles away. It's a current or former employee, contractor, or partner who has legitimate, authorized access to networks and data and misuses that access. What makes them so dangerous is that they already know the security layouts, the procedures, and the loopholes. They have a key to the castle. Now, not all insider threats are the same. They fall into three main categories. First, you have the malicious insider. This is the classic turncoat, intentionally abusing their access for revenge, personal profit, or other sinister motives. They might steal data, commit fraud, or outright sabotage the company's systems. Second is the negligent insider. This person doesn't mean to cause harm, but they do so through carelessness. Maybe they fall for a phishing scam, use a weak password, or bypass security rules for convenience. They accidentally leave the door open for attackers. Finally, there's the compromised insider. This is a legitimate employee whose credentials, like their password or keycard, have been stolen by an external attacker. The hacker then wears the employee's credentials, like a mask, moving through the system as a trusted insider, often without the user even knowing. While the malicious insider grabs the headlines, you might be surprised to learn that negligence is the bigger problem by volume. A 2022 Ponemon Institute report found that 56% of insider incidents were due to negligence, costing companies an average of nearly $500,000 each time. However, when an insider does act with malice, the damage is often far, far worse. So what pushes a trusted digital guardian to betray their organization? The motivations are rarely simple. Let's look at the psychology. The most common driver is, unsurprisingly, financial gain. An employee buried in debt, tempted by greed, or recruited by a competitor might decide to steal and sell sensitive data, intellectual property, or financial records. Revenge is another powerful motivator. An employee who feels wronged, passed over for a promotion, laid off, or caught in a workplace dispute might seek to get even. Their goal isn't just to steal, but to inflict pain on the organization they feel has hurt them. Then there's ideology. Some insiders believe their employer is engaged in unethical or harmful activities. They leak information not for personal gain, but because they believe they're serving a greater good. The case of Edward Snowden is perhaps the most famous example of an ideologically motivated insider. Sometimes it's not a choice. An insider might be coerced or blackmailed. Criminal groups, competitors, or even nation-states can exploit an employee's personal vulnerabilities, forcing them to become an accomplice. And finally, there's ego. A need for recognition, a desire to prove their technical skills, or a simple lust for power can lead some to engage in unauthorized activities just to show they can. Beyond these motives, certain personality traits can signal a higher risk. Researchers have pointed to traits like narcissism, a sense of entitlement, and a manipulative nature. Paired with mental health challenges, personal crises like debt or substance abuse, or a toxic work environment, and you have a recipe for disaster. The path from loyal employee to malicious insider is often a slippery slope, starting with small rule breaking and escalating over time. When these individuals decide to act, they have a powerful arsenal. Their intimate knowledge of the company's security weaknesses gives them a huge advantage. Their tactics often mimic legitimate work, making them incredibly hard to spot. Data exfiltration, or stealing data, is a primary goal. They might upload files to a personal Google Drive, email documents to a private account, or simply copy everything onto a USB stick. More sophisticated insiders might use a technique called DNS tunneling, encoding stolen data within seemingly normal internet traffic to bypass security. Sabotage is the weapon of choice for the vengeful. This can mean deleting critical data, disabling backups to maximize the damage, or even deploying malware like ransomware inside the network. They also engage in privilege abuse. This could be as simple as accessing data that isn't part of their job, or as complex as sending targeted phishing emails to colleagues from a trusted internal account to steal their credentials and escalate their own access. And of course, they try to cover their tracks. They'll delete server logs, use anonymizing tools like Tor to hide their location, and often work at odd hours to avoid scrutiny. The consequences of these actions are devastating. The 2025 Ponemon Institute report found the total average annual cost of insider incidents has hit $17.4 million per organization. This includes direct financial theft, the enormous costs of investigation and cleanup, regulatory fines, and legal fees. And the longer an attack goes undetected, the worse it gets. Incidents that take over 90 days to contain have an average annualized cost of over $17 million. But the financial hit is only part of the story. The damage to a company's reputation can be even more severe and long-lasting. Customer trust evaporates, the brand is tarnished, and sales can plummet. Then there's the operational disruption. In 2018, a former Cisco employee deleted hundreds of virtual machines, making thousands of WebEx accounts unusable for weeks and costing the company an estimated $1.4 million. These aren't just hypotheticals. Real-world cases paint a grim picture. In 2018 and again in 2023, Tesla suffered from insider attacks. The first involved a disgruntled employee who sabotaged their manufacturing operating system. The second saw two former employees leak the personal data of over 75,000 people. Then there's Anthony Lewandowski, a star engineer at Google's self-driving car project Waymo. In 2016, he downloaded 14,000 confidential files before leaving to start his own company, which was quickly bought by Uber. His motivation was pure financial gain and competitive advantage. In 2020, hackers didn't even need to be insiders themselves. They used a phone-based social engineering campaign to trick Twitter employees, gaining access to internal tools. They then hijacked the accounts of high-profile figures to promote a Bitcoin scam, turning trusted employees into unwitting accomplices. So, how do organizations build a fortress against this internal threat? It requires a multi-layered approach combining technology, policy, and culture. Cybersecurity professionals, the digital guardians, are central to this defense. They design and implement the technical controls. Let's call this the digital moat. A key principle is least privilege. Employees should only have access to the data and systems they absolutely need to do their jobs. Nothing more. Access should be reviewed and revoked regularly. Data loss prevention, or DLP, tools act like security guards for data. They monitor, detect, and can block unauthorized transfers of sensitive information, whether it's to an email, a cloud account, or a USB drive. A more advanced technology is User and Entity Behavior Analytics, or UEBA. These systems use machine learning to establish a baseline of normal behavior for every user. When someone suddenly starts logging in at 3 a.m., downloading massive amounts of data, or trying to access restricted areas, the UEBA system flags it as an anomaly. This is how you spot an insider before they can do major damage. But technology alone isn't enough. You also need what we can call a human firewall. This starts with building a positive work culture. Employees who feel valued, respected, and treated fairly are far less likely to become disgruntled and malicious. Engaged employees are invested in the company's success. Comprehensive security awareness training is also essential, but it has to be more than a boring annual slideshow. Modern training uses positive reinforcement, rewarding employees for spotting phishing emails or completing modules, which is proven to be more effective than punishment. Clear, enforceable security policies, thorough background checks, and robust offboarding processes that immediately revoke all access are non-negotiable. It's also vital to have anonymous reporting channels so employees can report concerns without fear of retaliation. This can be a powerful tool for early detection. To truly understand this threat, we have to go one level deeper into the psychology, to that slippery slope we mentioned. Forensic psychologists talk about rationalization. Malicious insiders almost never see themselves as villains. They create internal narratives to justify their actions. They might tell themselves, "I am just borrowing the money," or "the company owes me for that promotion I didn't get," or "everybody else does it." This allows them to maintain a positive self-image. Another mechanism is moral disengagement. This is the process of convincing yourself that ethical standards don't apply in your specific situation. You might dehumanize the victim, in this case, the company, or minimize the consequences of your actions. A useful framework for understanding this is the fraud triangle. It states that for a white-collar crime to occur, 3 factors must be present. First, pressure. The person is facing a motivation, usually financial. Second, opportunity. They have the access and ability to commit the crime. And third, rationalization. They can justify the crime to themselves. When all 3 sides of that triangle connect, the risk of an attack skyrockets. In the end, the insider threat is a permanent fixture of our digital landscape. It's a risk that can't be eliminated, but it can be managed. It requires a holistic approach, addressing both the technical and, crucially, the human elements of the problem. It demands a partnership between cybersecurity, human resources, and leadership. It requires a shift in mindset, recognizing that security is not just a technical problem but a fundamentally human one. By understanding the psychology of the insider, implementing robust controls, and fostering a culture of trust and vigilance, organizations can ensure their digital guardians remain exactly that, guardians, not criminals. Thanks for tuning in to Fun Facts Online.